The galaxy had rules, every species. Learned them young, whispered through neural links or carved into ancient stone. Rule 1, never approach a death world. Rule 2, never provoke a predator species. Rule 3, if you encounter humanity, run. The Council of Aligned Worlds had existed for 12,000 cycles, a sprawling government of 200 species bound by trade, diplomacy, and mutual survival. They had seen empires rise and fall, witnessed wars that consumed entire star systems and brokered peace between civilizations that spoke in colors and those that communicated through quantum entanglement. But they had never seen anything like the humans. First contact happened on a Tuesday, at least that's what the humans called it. The Corval mining fleet had stumbled upon a small blue planet in an unremarkable arm of the galaxy rich with metals and rare minerals. Scans showed primitive life, radio signals barely a century old, and no spacefaring capability. By Council law, the planet was open for extraction. The Corval didn't even bother with a warning. They set up drilling platforms in the Arctic, massive machines that bit into the ice and drew out precious elements. For 3 weeks they worked undisturbed. Then the humans arrived. Commander Shacker was reviewing extraction reports when his second officer burst onto the bridge. Sir, we have incoming craft. Small chemical propulsion, incredibly primitive. Shacker's 4 eyes narrowed. Weapons? None that we can detect. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Audio only. Let's hear it. The bridge speakers crackled to life. A voice, rough and determined, filled the space. This is Colonel Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. You are operating illegally on sovereign territory. Power down your equipment and prepare to be boarded. The bridge crew erupted in clicking laughter. Shakur gestured for silence. Respond. Tell them we claim this territory under Council salvage law and that they should return to their settlements before someone gets hurt. The response was immediate negative. You have 60 seconds to comply. Shacker checked his display. The human craft were still 10 minutes away at their current speed. Ignore them. Continue operations. 58 seconds later, the first drilling platform exploded. The humans had fired something, a primitive missile that shouldn't have been able to penetrate Corval shielding, except the shields weren't designed for something so crude, so kinetic, so impossibly fast. The missile punched through the energy field like it wasn't there and detonated inside the platform's core. Return fire. Shock roared, but the human craft were already gone, scattering in different directions with maneuvers that should have liquefied their pilots. Corval weapons tracked them. Plasma bolts cutting through the sky. One human craft took a direct hit and spiraled into the ocean. The others kept coming. What followed wasn't a battle, it was a lesson. The humans used everything. Rocks dropped from orbit, ramming maneuvers, explosive charges placed by suited figures who somehow survived in the void without proper environmental suits. They targeted weak points with surgical precision, as if they'd studied Corval ships for years instead of minutes. When Shacker finally ordered the retreat, he'd lost 3 platforms and 2 support ships to a species that still used combustion engines. The report reached the Council within hours. Ambassador Tel Carrara of the Zenith Collective read it 3 times, certain there had been a translation error. Species with barely functional space Travel had driven off a Corval mining fleet. It was impossible. It was terrifying. It was necessary to understand. She assembled a first contact team. Diplomats, xenobiologists, cultural specialists, all volunteers who understood the risk. They approached Earth slowly, broadcasting peaceful intentions on every frequency. The humans responded with coordinates and a single word: welcome. The landing site was called Geneva, a city of glass and steel nestled between mountains. Thousands of humans gathered to watch, their faces displaying what the team's emotional readers identified as curiosity, excitement, and caution. Tellera stepped off the ship, her silver skin gleaming in the sunlight, and spoke through the translation device. Greetings, people of Earth. I am Ambassador Tellera. We come in peace, seeking understanding. A human stepped forward, older with gray hair and steady eyes. I'm Secretary General Maria Santos. Welcome to Earth. We have much to discuss. The negotiations took place in a room designed for human comfort, which meant it was far too warm and bright for Tellera's preferences. She endured. The humans offered food, water, information about their world. They asked questions, thousands of questions about the galaxy, the Council, the rules that governed interstellar society. You attacked the Corval, Tellera said finally, unable to avoid the topic any longer. By Council law, they had the right to extract resources from unclaimed territories. Maria Santos folded her hands on the table. Ambassador, this planet is not unclaimed. 8 billion people call it home. The Corval didn't ask permission. They didn't negotiate. They simply took what they wanted. We defended our home. You defended it with violence against a species far more advanced than yourselves. Yes, no hesitation, no apology. We did what we had to do. We always do. Tel Carrara returned to the Council chambers with a problem she couldn't solve. The humans refused to acknowledge salvage rights, refused to submit to Council jurisdiction, and refused to stop defending their territory with what they called proportional force. Proportional, as if destroying million credit mining equipment with chemical explosives was somehow reasonable. The Council convened in a grand chamber, a space designed to accommodate species that breathe methane, swam in ammonia, or existed as pure energy. 200 civilizations, thousands of representatives, all focused on the human question. Chancellor Vordik, a towering crystalline being whose species had founded the Council, opened the session with a resonance that translated across all languages. We face an unprecedented situation. A prepay species has attacked Council operations and refuses to acknowledge our authority. The question before us is simple: do we enforce compliance or do we adapt our laws? The debate lasted for 3 cycles. The military faction led by the Corval demanded immediate action. Send a battle fleet, demonstrate overwhelming force, bring the humans to heel. They had done it before with dozens of upstart species, a show of power, a few strategic strikes, and suddenly the primitives understood their place in the galactic order. The diplomatic faction urged caution. The humans had demonstrated combat capability beyond their technological level. They were unpredictable, aggressive, and apparently willing to die for their territory. A military confrontation might escalate in ways the Council couldn't control. Ambassador Tellera Offered a third option: we study them. We learn what makes them different, and we decide if the galaxy has room for a species that doesn't follow our rules. The Council voted. Military action was postponed. Tellera's proposal was approved by the narrowest margin in Council history. She was given 6 months to produce comprehensive report on humanity. 6 months to determine if Earth would join the galactic community or burn. She assembled a team of researchers and returned to Earth. This time the humans welcomed them with open arms. They offered tour of their cities, their factories, their military bases. They shared their history, their art, their music. They seemed eager, almost desperate to be understood. Dr. Kenzar, a Methodian psychologist, spent weeks interviewing humans from different cultures and continents. His findings were disturbing. Humans, he discovered, had evolved on a planet that actively tried to kill them. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, even the weather itself conspired against their survival. Every human carried genetic trauma from millions of years of barely surviving. They live with death, he reported during a team meeting, every moment of every day. They know they're fragile, that they can be killed by the smallest microbe or the largest predator, and instead of making them cautious, it makes them bold. They charge toward danger because they've learned that running means dying slowly, fighting means a chance to live. Tel Carrara reviewed combat footage from the Corval incident. She watched human pilots pull maneuvers that should have killed them. Watch soldiers place explosives with hands that trembled from cold and fear. Watch Colonel Chen's face as she gave the order to fire. The expression was unmistakable. Determination. Not confidence, not bloodlust, just the grim resolve of someone who knew the cost and paid it anyway. Dr. Velmira, HFY biologist, made another discovery. Humans had something called adrenaline, a chemical cocktail their bodies produced during stress. It increased strength, dulled pain, sharpened focus. Other species had similar mechanisms, but none quite like this. Human adrenaline turned a dying creature into a temporary predator. They're built for crisis, Velmira explained. Most species panic when threatened. Humans panic and then run toward the threat. It's insane. It's also incredibly effective. The cultural team uncovered thousands of stories, myths, legends, historical accounts, all following the same pattern: humans facing impossible odds and winning through stubbornness, creativity, or sheer refusal to accept defeat. They told stories about warriors who fought with broken bodies, scientists who solved problems everyone said were unsolvable, and ordinary people who became extraordinary when everything went wrong. They worship struggle, observed Filer, a social anthropologist. Not victory, not peace, struggle itself. They believe suffering makes them stronger, that hardship reveals character. They have a saying: what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. They actually believe that. Tel Carrara compiled the data into a report. She included military assessments, psychological profiles, biological analyses, and cultural studies. She spent 3 sleepless cycles reviewing it, checking every detail because she knew what it would mean. The report landed on Chancellor Vortek's desk with a single conclusion: humanity was dangerous, not because they were strong or advanced or numerous. They were dangerous because they didn't understand surrender. Every defeat was temporary, every setback a lesson, every loss something to avenge. They would never stop, never quit, never accept that some battles couldn't be won. The galaxy had rules. Humans didn't care. They would learn the rules, break them, and rewrite them until reality bent to match their stubborn refusal to accept limits. They were apex predators from a death world, and they were looking at the stars with hungry eyes. The Council had 6 months to decide what to do about that. Kellera suspected they would need more time. Humanity, she was learning, didn't fit into neat bureaucratic schedules. The Council's decision chamber felt smaller than usual. Tellera stood before the assembled representatives, her report displayed on holographic screens in 200 different formats, chemical signatures for species that smelled information, quantum fluctuations for those that existed partially outside normal space, simple visual text for species like her own. All of it said the same thing. Humanity was a gamble the galaxy had never taken before. Chancellor Vortex. Crystalline form pulsed with amber light. The color of concern. Ambassador Tellera. Your report is thorough, perhaps too thorough. You've documented humanity's aggression, their recklessness, their refusal to accept authority, and yet you recommend we grant them provisional council membership. Explain. Tel Carrara had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. She still wasn't ready. Chancellor, we can destroy Earth. Single fleet orbital bombardment, and the human problem disappears. We have the power, but we would be making a terrible mistake. The Corval delegation erupted in protest. Commander Shacker, still bitter about his defeat, slammed a clawed hand against his console. They attacked us. They reject our laws, and you want to reward them with membership. I want to survive, Tellera said quietly. The chamber fell silent. The humans have been in space for less than a century. In that time, they've built stations, sent probes to every planet in their system, and developed weapons that can threaten our ships. They did this alone, with no guidance, no technology sharing, no help. What do you think they'll do in 10 years, 100, 1,000? She pulled up a new display. The humans have a concept called spite. When you hurt them, they don't just fight back. They make it their life's mission to ensure you never hurt anyone again. If we attack Earth, we won't eliminate humanity. We'll scatter them, drive them into the dark spaces between stars, and they'll spend generations building the weapons to strike back. They'll become the galaxy's nightmare. Pirates, terrorists, zealots who believe we tried to commit genocide. Chancellor Vortex shifted, light rippling across his surface. You paint a grim picture. I paint an accurate one. But there's another option. We invite them in. We teach them our rules, give them a stake in our civilization. Humans are aggressive, yes, but they're also loyal. Every culture on Earth has stories about honor, about keeping promises, about standing beside allies, even when it costs everything. If humanity joins the Council, they won't be our enemy, they'll be our weapon. The chamber erupted. Half the delegates screamed in outrage. The other half leaned forward with interest. Tel Carrara pressed on, raising her voice above the chaos. The DVAC swarm is still out. They're growing in the dark reaches beyond Council space. The synthetic collective continues to convert entire species into machine intelligence. We face threats that don't negotiate, don't surrender, don't care about our careful diplomacy. We need allies who understand violence, who can match aggression with aggression. We need humans. She pulled up the final image, Colonel Sarah Chin standing on the ice after driving off the Corval fleet. Her face was frostburned, her suit damaged, but her eyes were clear, determined, unbroken. This is a human defending her home with primitive weapons against impossible odds. Imagine what she could do with our technology. Imagine 1,000 like her, trained and equipped, standing between the Council and the threats we pretend don't exist. The humans are dangerous. That's exactly why we need them. The vote took 2 full cycles, argument stretched through day and night, translated across incompatible biology and philosophy. The military faction fought hard, but Tellura had allies, species that remembered their own violent pasts, civilizations that had been uplifted rather than evolved into space naturally. They understood what humanity represented: raw potential, unrefined and dangerous, but moldable. The final vote was close. 103 in favor, 97 against. Humanity would receive Provisional Council membership, subject to a century-long evaluation period. They would have access to basic technology, trade rights and diplomatic protection. In exchange, they would follow Council law, contribute to collective defense, and prove they could be more than violent primitives from a death world. Tellura returned to Earth one last time, carrying the Council's decision. She landed in Geneva again, where Secretary General Santos waited with the same steady expression. The ambassador extended a slender hand, offering a data crystal that contained everything humanity had just won. The Council has voted. You're in provisional membership, subject to review, but you're in. Welcome to the galaxy. Maria Santos took the crystal, examined it and smiled. We won't let you down, Ambassador. Humanity knows how to be a good ally. We've had plenty of practice fighting each other. Time we pointed that energy somewhere useful. There will be rules. Tellura warned. Expectations. The Council isn't Earth's military. We don't conquer, we don't expand aggressively, we don't solve every problem with violence. We understand. We're not animals, Ambassador. We're just survivors who learn to fight because nothing else worked, but we can learn other methods. We're adaptable. That's our real strength. Tel Carrara looked up at the sky, at the stars that humans had dreamed about for millennia. They were out there now, within reach, full of wonders and dangers that humanity couldn't imagine, but she had. Read their history. Humans had faced the impossible before. They called it Tuesday. One more thing, Santos said. Colonel Chin wanted me to give you something. She handed over a small patch, the kind human soldiers wore on their uniforms. It showed Earth blue and green against black space with text wrapped around it. United Earth Defense Force. Below that, smaller words, we hold the line. She said to tell you that wherever the Council needs defenders, humanity will be there. We know how to hold the line. We've been doing it our entire existence. Tel Carrara attached the patch to her diplomatic robes. It looked strange against the silver fabric, a splash of color and defiance. Perfect. She had spent 6 months studying humanity and had learned one undeniable truth: the galaxy had rules. Humans learned them, respected them, and rewrote them when necessary. The Council had just gained its most dangerous ally, and in the dark spaces between stars where ancient threats Stirred and empires schemed something. Fundamental had shifted. Humanity was no longer alone, and the galaxy would never be the same.